So Sice is coming, and there's a typo on the slide, so it's not Sice FR, it's Sice FR. So Sice FR focuses on off-turn damage, but she have delay, so it's mainly on-turn setup with off-turn attack, like Sice herself, Young, and Kane. So what I mean by here is that you can take turns during your own character's turn, and if you have characters like Young and Kane, they will still do off-turn and trigger Sice effect. So you don't have to rely on the enemy taking turn to actually increase of FR, but that doesn't mean that you cannot use it that way. So she have delay on her FR, but if you have all your speed removed, you should still be able to do a good off-turn setup. And usually, if you watch most of the video, off-turn setup, when you do it, you don't even need the full 10 turns. So if Sice slightly delay the enemy, so taking a few turns at the front, she will still be able to complete fights within the 10 FR turns. Okay, so make sure that if you are going for pure off turn, just avoid using S2 because S2 further delay the enemy, and EX place the enemy, like if you have A in front and B behind, then it will instantly place A behind B. Okay, so it's not affected by any delay immunity or anything, so it's directly just placing the enemy behind. So that is something that only she has. So I find that to be quite a niche utility that she has. Okay, so anyway, with her rework, her trap is now 15 turns and is likely to last all the way through an FR phase, and I think that is really great. Even if you have some enemy taking turns in between, 15 turns is enough. Not to mention that when it comes back to her turn, you can always use her LD to reapply the traps. So her trap is very important as it contributes to HP damage bonus. So 5% per trigger. So imagine if you have 3 enemies, that is total of 15%. And one of the most important thing for me is that her FR comes with 50% HP damage limit up. So if you just rely on Sice alone, her FR generates 40, 10 if there's 2 enemy, 5 per enemy, so 10% total, plus 3% for her turn. Okay, so that is 53%. And during enemy's turn, Sice trap will trigger on 1 each, so that's 10%. So if you have more enemy, then it becomes 15%. So her off turn is based on Dark Element, and since Sice does not enchant Dark Element, so Zande Call is kind of important if you want the entire party to be able to trigger her condition to increase the HP damage bonus. So I did not really, in my recommendation, I did not write about off turn because off turn is pretty much subjective to what fight that you are in. You know, if you have enemy that can't be delayed, perfect. If you have enemy that has a lot of speed down on the party and speed up on themselves, you know, turn rate down and things like that, then that's perfect as well. So it's kind of subjective, so I'm not putting on the mathematics here in order to calculate the HP damage bonus. Instead, I'm suggesting a team that I use in early FR era, and that is Sice, Laguna, and Penelo, and in fact add in Kane. So why do I recommend this team is that when Sice traps trigger on one enemy, it will trigger Laguna's Desperado effect, and when her trap triggers on the second enemy, then the second time Laguna's Desperado will go off, and then the third time if there's three enemy. So each time Sice trap goes off with Laguna Desperado following up, that is 5 plus 5, so it's 10%. So if you have 3 enemy with Sice and Laguna's off turn, you can get a total of 30%. And including what she already has, so 40 plus 30, 70, and if you have another off turn dealing attack, so that's like total of 75% per turn, and that's actually pretty awesome for a character that has a lot of off-turn damage, and you know, when you stack up all this effect, it's really good. So another character here is Ace. So imagine if you have Ace, Sice, and Laguna. So 3 times Ace 15%, Sice 15%, that's already 30, and Laguna another 15%, 45, and you add another 40% from Sice if you have the overhead, so that's total of 85%. So that can be pretty amazing. But here I mentioned as well Penelo. So what I recommend here is to start with Penelo's BT. So now you have Penelo's BT effect 8 turn, and that's 50% HP damage limit up. Then we use Sice to trigger the FR, and Sice FR have another 50%. So now you have total of 100% HP damage limit up, you know, regardless of the third unit. So if a third unit, if you are using like Kane's BT effect, maybe another 20 to 30%, so you can have a huge increase in HP damage limit. So assuming that it is Penelo's turn after Sice FR, and directly you start supercharging. The thing is that when you initiate Sice FR, I believe, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I believe her trap will go off and Laguna's Desperado will go off as well. So that will be an initial start of 143% instead of 123%, because 10% from Sice traps and 10% from Laguna's Desperado. So you have 143%. And now if you supercharge during Sice FR, you get 53%, 3% for Penelo's turn, 50% for using a buff ability or a non-attacking ability, and then 40% for having an overhead, and then plus 10% from Sice trap and another 10% from Laguna's trap. So that would total up to 113%. And if compared to just using Penelo's FR, it's 123%. So it's different by 10%, but the thing is that Sice FR has 50% HP damage limit up. Penelo does not have that, right? So here we can expect, you know, a huge, big amount of damage that you can dealt to the enemy. So from here, if you start with 143% and every turn you are increasing it by 113%, you can get up to 934%, and you still have 3 turns left. So with this 3 turns left, Penelo's BT should now have one turn effect left. So you can reactivate Penelo's BT by using her BT finisher. So which means that, you know, you activate Penelo's BT initially through Penelo's BT phase. Okay, and here you can enter summon, you can use big call like Science, or you use Penelo's. Now you activate Penelo's BT. So coming back to Laguna's turn or Sice's turn, you can use any other attack that you want. So now moving into her evaluation, you know, even before FR era, she comes in late Lufinia Plus, and a lot assume or felt that, you know, Lufinia Plus are so easy, and when we enter FR era, we probably use a lot of FR. We should focus on the FR characters, so a lot skip her, I believe, right? But for me, I do not think that's the case. She was really relevant in early FR, and even until now, she is actually still usable. The only restriction is that her trap doesn't trigger during BT phase, so if you are going for a BT phase setup, we will use Kane. But actually, if you use for off turn or supercharging setup, Sice is really a good character to use. Okay, so this fact doesn't change, which is also why she doesn't get much reward, because the kit is actually good to begin with. And just to drop a note, like, you know, when we were in late Lufinia Plus era, and we mentioned that yeah, some characters not important because we are entering FR era and we should focus on getting FR characters. It is similar now that a lot is mentioning that we are entering Echoes era and we should focus on getting FR Echoes, FR with Echoes. But for me, that's not the case. I think Sice FR is still a good FR. So you can imagine if you activate Sice FR and you use some Echoes, even though it's not hers, but with the off turn, on turn, and things like that, I believe she will be doing a lot of damage. So I think her FR is a good FR to get. Here I gave her a 4/5. Even though her FR has delay, and that kind of like counterintuitive in the sense that she wants enemy to take more turn. But I think it really doesn't matter that much. You will still be able to clear fights within one FR. Just make sure to remove all speed passive from all your character and bring a defensive unit, because she does not have any defensive mechanism. So you might want to have Core, Auron, Gladiolus, right? Or Minwoo for healing, Firion for healing, even Maria, right? So do bring one of these often character and pair it with her. And make sure they do not have an element. So okay, Minwoo wasn't a good example because he has Holy Element. So Firion, who else? So Core, so they are elementalists, so they can be enchanted with Dark Element. So for a base kit, I wanted to give her a 5/5, but she doesn't have a BT, so that's kind of like in competition with characters that does have a BT. So I give her a score of 4/5. Anyway, with the 5 turn for threats, it can last through a whole FR phase, so I think that's really good, and I mentioned about that already. Her EX is also pretty interesting, as I mentioned as well, so I think she has a pretty good kit. So if you do need a off-turn attacker, do grab her. Right, so thank you very much, and I hope, I wish everyone good luck, whoever that is pulling for Sice tomorrow.